What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 5 players that I absolutely love heading into the 2024 fantasy football season. So sit back, relax, enjoy. If you do, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section. Agree, disagree. What players do you love heading into this year and why? Along with any other questions you guys might have, we'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And as you can see, we've got the current 2024 fantasy football draft rankings based on full PPR scoring via fantasypros as of early July. I figured showing you this would be pretty helpful, kind of just keeping along with the breakdown and the names and seeing where some of these guys are ranked and being drafted. So like I mentioned before, these are some of my favorite players that I have been on in mock drafts up until this point. I think basically these are going to be some of my most rostered players. I love the upside. I think they're going to have some really strong seasons across all positions, potentially guys that I might be able to reaching for, that are going to outproduce expectations. You know, kind of all fits into that category. And we can do more of these breakdowns as well because it's more than just 5 players. But with that being said, let's kick it off. And I'm going to do my best not to have like no-brainers like, oh, okay, just the first 5 picks in a row in the first round. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And I'm going to scroll down to Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, London is an interesting name. He comes in here, 19th overall player, wide receiver 12. First and foremost, let me just say, this is via fantasypros. This is not the case across ESPN, across NFL, across Yahoo, which are just, some of the most popular platforms that people do drafting on. He's ranked a lot lower on, let's say, ESPN. So just because he's ranked a little bit higher here, I don't want you to think that that's going to be the case across all platforms. And that's kind of why I wanted to start with him, because to me, once you get past the tier of like the Puka Nakuas, the A.J. Browns, the Garrett Wilsons, you're left in no man's land for wide receiver. You're looking at like Devontae Adams, you're looking at Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison, Ayuk, Pittman, Evans, Waddle. And I think all those guys have question marks. Like with Devontae Adams, it's the age, it's the team, it's the quarterback, it's the production last year. With Olave, it's the quarterback. It's, can he be an elite guy or is he just like kind of a PPR dude? With Marvin Harrison, it's, does the expectation meet the current ADP? I don't know. With Michael Pittman, it's, okay, well, Gardner Minshew isn't there anymore. What's Anthony Richardson going to do for his fantasy value? For Ayuk, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Is he even going to be a 49er by the time the season starts? So a lot of question marks there. And with Drake London, I look at him and I see an exciting young prospect. Like, I think back a couple years ago when a lot of people were saying that Calvin Ridley was going to break out with the Atlanta Falcons finally, and it finally happened. I kind of see that similar type of situation with Drake London, who, again, just so happens to be on the same squad. But the thing is, what was missing from years prior? A bona fide good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. You've also got a good backup in Penix, and I'm still of the camp of the belief that Kirk Cousins will play the majority of the year. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm making any comparisons in terms of that Drake London is Justin Jefferson or anything like that, but we have seen what Kirk Cousins can do for the alpha wide receiver on the offense. Sure, he might not be a top 10 real-life NFL quarterback, but I think you can argue for fantasy football purposes he can be that, and more importantly, he can support top 10 fantasy wide receivers. I think Drake London has breakout written all over him. If there's one of these wide receivers that I'm going to take a chance on, because there's question marks with all of them, in this range after Puka Nacua, after A.J. Brown, I would bet on Drake London. I'd be okay drafting him in the middle of the second round. You can get him towards the end of the third round as well. He proved he was the alpha last year, just some inconsistencies. And again, what do you expect when you have Ritter? So Kirk Cousins is going to help a lot of those ailments. I think this offense is going to run through two guys, Bijan and Drake London. And then the fact that Arthur Smith is no longer there, I mean, that's a blessing for everyone on that offense as far as I'm concerned. So that's another positive for Drake London. You also look at the competition. I mean, I'm not shaking in my boots for Darnell Mooney overtaking him as the number one wide receiver on this team. So for all those reasons, I think Drake London continues to be one of my favorite wide receivers. I mean, no surprise, since he's one of my tag breakouts this year, that he is one of my 5 favorite players in this current breakdown. But let's continue to move on here. And I've got Patrick Mahomes next. He comes in at the 29th overall player, quarterback 3. And what I have an issue with here is I think, first and foremost, Patrick Mahomes is a little bit underrated. And I know everyone loves the rushing quarterbacks. I get it. Look, the Konami quarterbacks, the cheat codes, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, it's all fine and dandy. But it was only a few years ago when we still had those rushing quarterbacks in the league. And Patrick Mahomes was still the first overall quarterback being drafted. And because of what he could do with his arm and the weapons that he had, and Tyreek and a prime Travis Kelce, that he was still putting up goated numbers. And look, nothing's changed with Patrick Mahomes in the talent level. He's still the best real-life NFL quarterback. Sure, he's not going to rush for close to 1,000 yards or double-digit touchdowns, but I bet you his passing yards will be significantly more than a Jalen Hurts or even a Josh Allen when you look at the offense that Josh Allen is working with now. Because I look at Patrick Mahomes and I look at the moves made in the offseason by the Chiefs, whether it's the draft, whether it's free agency. Look, you have Rashee Rice, who was a great find last year. Travis Kelce, sure, he's not prime Travis Kelce anymore, but he can still get the job done. Pacheco can also handle the rushing attack. You've got a good offensive line, not decent, good offensive line. And then I really like the additions of Marquise Brown, somebody that can stretch the field. And then Xavier Worthy, another guy, very fast, rookie, first-round wide receiver they drafted, specifically traded up for. So I like that situation. I think they're kind of getting back to trying to put together skill players that can do things that Tyreek Hill was doing back in his prime with Patrick Mahomes. And my biggest thing here is, if you can offer me this deal, what would you rather have? Would you rather have Josh Allen, who's lost a lot of weapons offensively, at the end of the second round, or another tier 1 quarterback, which I think we all agree that Patrick Mahomes is a tier 1 quarterback still, 2 rounds later? Never mind you that he's coming in at number 29, only 12 kind of ranks after Josh Allen, because that's not how it translates to in the drafts. Typically, he goes about a round and a half to 2 after Josh Allen. I've even seen Anthony Richardson being drafted or Lamar Jackson being drafted ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I don't get it. I think that you can argue that he can be the quarterback 2. But basically what I'm saying is, if you can offer me the deal of getting Patrick Mahomes 2 rounds later after Josh Allen, like in the 4th round as opposed to the 2nd, I would take that all day, every day. And you would be shocked, given how many mock drafts that we've done, the amount of times that we have seen that exact scenario happen. If it's a 10-team league, he can even fall to the 5th round. So I think people are just kind of sleeping on Patrick Mahomes a little bit. This offense has improved immensely, and I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes the quarterback 1 overall. But let's continue to move on here. Another name that I still do like, and that is one Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints. So he comes in as the 44th overall player, running back 14. So kind of right on the border of potentially a top 12 running back. But there's some platforms, again, where he's ranked a little bit lower. I think people were worried, age last year, the production kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. You've got Taysom Hill vulturing him, and you've got some other, running backs there. But, I mean, Williams ain't anything that I'm too worried about. The young guys, I'm not all that worried about either. Last year, on a per-game basis, after his suspension, Alvin Kamara was a very, very serviceable running back, an RB1 type of talent. And in full PPR formats, again, which is what we're talking about, I think he's being undervalued. We just need Derek Carr to distribute the football to him. And I think Alvin Kamara is a tremendous value, like in the 4th or 5th round of drafts. If he can get those touchdown numbers up and not be vultured by Taysom Hill every other red zone visit, then Alvin Kamara is going to absolutely outproduce the expectations. For my money's worth, he's still one of the best pass-catching running backs in the NFL. Like, you've got Christian McCaffrey, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs in those conversations. Alvin Kamara is not all that far behind. And he's also proven that he can handle the workload like when he has to and be that bell cow. But it's all based on how the New Orleans Saints are using him. I don't think all of a sudden he's going to become a running back by committee type of situation. He can still do, he's basically more versatile than all the running backs that they have. He's a proven talent. I like him. I think that you're probably drafting him in the running back 2 range, but he's got RB1 upside, and it's not that much out of the realm of possibility. You don't have to reach that far to get there. And because of his pass catching ability, he also has a decently high floor. So for those reasons and for the proven production in the past, I like Alvin Kamara once again in 2024. Now continuing to move on, I'm going to hit the tight end position, believe it or not. That is Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals, comes in at 54. Ranking-wise, tight end 3. And again, there's some platforms where he is ranked even lower because, you've got guys like, obviously, the top 3 names that are going to come to mind: Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, in no particular order. Typically, I'm seeing Trey McBride being drafted after those guys, so him being tight end 3 here, a little bit higher than normal. But I think Trey McBride, somebody that I'm really excited about, and I can get him like in the 5th, 6th round potentially. Again, that might be pushing it depending on the size of your leagues, but 5th round, kind of realistic depending on where you're drafting in the 5th round. Last year, like, he was the main guy for the Arizona Cardinals towards the end of the season. You've got a healthy Kyler Murray back. Sure, Marvin Harrison was added, and maybe that's partially why we're getting a discount on Trey McBride. But I think, again, in the way that I see things, it wouldn't shock me if Trey McBride isn't that far behind from Marvin Harrison in regards to receptions. Like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the one that's getting the double teams. He's going to be the one that the defenses are focused on. So that's going to open things up for Trey McBride. Like, those dink and dump passes, those middle of the field short passes, Trey McBride is going to absolutely eat there. He's by far and away, I think, their second best pass catcher. Again, I'll give the nod to Marvin Harrison, but towards the end of last year, he also proved it. Like, at the end of last year, fantasy-wise, he was a tight end 1, no questions about it. And now I think you take the discount on Trey McBride, realizing that he can absolutely finish the season as the tight end 1, because with Kelce, you never know with the age, right? With Mark Andrews, injuries, Lamar inconsistencies, Sam Laporta is, I think, going to be his biggest kind of adversary to finishing as the tight end 1. So that's going to be the most interesting duel, in my opinion. But let's kind of conclude this now with the last name on our list. That is George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comes in at 57, wide receiver 31. So with George Pickens, it's a couple things. I've mentioned him before. Again, I've put him in the breakout category, so not a shocker for him to fall in this category of guys that I absolutely love this year. But Pickens is on a team where Deontay Johnson is no longer going to be challenging him for targets. So that's a positive. You've also got a major quarterback upgrade, whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Justin Fields. I don't want to hear it that one of those guys isn't going to be better than Kenny Pickett. Yes, they will both be better than Kenny Pickett, whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Justin Fields just supported a top 10 season from DJ Moore for fantasy football purposes. And Russell Wilson, even in a diminished state, is better than Kenny Pickett. So for those reasons, I think that George Pickens is going to be a really, really heavily targeted guy. I look at the other pass catchers on this offense, and I'm not scared off by anyone as far as wide receivers are concerned. I wouldn't be shocked if the number 2 leading pass catcher here is honestly Freiermuth. Sure, you're going to have a focus on running the football, things like that. But if the Steelers like struggle and they are down in games, you can only run the football so much. You're going to have to air it out, and George Pickens will be the beneficiary. So regardless of who wins out the quarterback position, that's what I think is the beautiful thing here. George Pickens, competition-wise, volume-wise, opportunity-wise, proven production in the past, never mind you. Like, we've seen him blow up in previous years, even when Deontay Johnson was there, even with Kenny Pickett. I think a lot of arrows are pointing in that up direction for George Pickens, which is why I really like him. I think he is probably getting drafted as a flex guy or a low-end wide receiver too that can surprise a lot of people this season. But with that, we wrap up this breakdown of our 5 favorite players for the 2024 fantasy football season. Guys that I love. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Agree, disagree. What other names would you put on this list and why? If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin. Continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.